say she was in kindergarten, pre-K kindergarten, and she wasn't learning to read. Like, she wanted to read. It wasn't fat, and so I just supplemented. So around pre-K or kindergarten, we started with Mr. Gregg. It's just Olivia's personality. She wanted to read. She wanted to be able to pick up any, books. I mean, she could read like basic, 2-3 letter words, but she wanted to read. And so it was her desire, and they weren't teaching her fast enough in school. And so I supplemented it. So it was really driven by Olivia.
I wanted to be able to read books and not have to skip words that I don't know.
I'm math, so I knew I couldn't teach her. So I wanted somebody that would really, give her some great foundational skills. Mr. Gregg taught one of my coworkers' son and daughter, and he said he referred me to Mr. Gregg because, casual conversation, parents, coworkers, we were talking, and I told him, and he's like, I know this guy because Mr. Gregg used to teach at his children's school, and he's like, he was great. They learned. And so Olivia was just eager. So I was asking anybody to help me. I think I even bought like the Hooked on Phonics thing. And then my coworker knew Mr. Gregg, or his children had been taught by Mr. Gregg. And so that's how I found Mr. Gregg.
If I was going to describe Mr. Gregg to one of my friends, I'd say he's nice and he's really good at tutoring, and his slides are really fun.
Because in the beginning, we would meet Mr. Gregg at the library before COVID. So we'd meet him at a library between our two homes. And so she loved it because, we're at the library that she could check out books. And so they've always had a really good relationship. Yeah, she worked really well with Mr. Gregg.
At the end, you get to read a book for a little bit. I just read this one book. It's called When the Stars Are Scattered. Whenever I was struggling, Mr. Gregg would give me a hint. It was a little bit easier to read after my tutoring session.
He's good about sticking to what he has to do, but he understands that, like I said, she was really young when they started. So, their attention span. In the beginning, we would do shorter time periods, and then once we moved to COVID, we did Zoom, so he would keep it right at that sweet spot before she would get too antsy, and not want to, to do it anymore. He's very systematic, and everything is just laid out, very black and white. This is how they did this, is how long it took her, and then he would always have like the goal. Like he would tell me, this is the point that I'm going to, to get her to.
The time I felt most proud was when I read most of the words in my book correctly. I feel like I'm a better reader because of Mr. Gregg.
I don't believe any school is going to give you everything you want. It's just impossible. So I'm not opposed to having to supplement what my child needs. As a high school math teacher, I see the need for fundamental skills. And a lot of my students struggle with math because they have poor reading skills and comprehension. It's fundamental. If you see that your child needs some additional help, make the investment, because in the long run, it'll be beneficial. Reading is it's fundamental. Like I tell my students all the time, reading is fundamental. You have to know how to read, and you have to know how to comprehend. So I just saw how well he works with Olivia, and I saw the strides that she made. So he knows I'm his biggest proponent. Anytime anybody tells me they need a reading tutor, I always refer him. Yeah. So it worked for my baby. So
Thank you, Mr. Gregg, for helping me be a better reader.